Hi, and welcome to the Urban Tech VC, a podcast for urban leaders shaping the cities of tomorrow. If you love our show, do drop us a review, share it with your friends, and follow 2BX on LinkedIn or Instagram. Today, we're happy to welcome Nathalie, founder of madamePee, the first mobile urinal designed for women. Nathalie's entrepreneurial project on societal innovation aims at bringing alternative and efficient sanitary solutions for women. Today, she joins us to talk about inclusivity in European cities. If you're an urban tech founder about to raise a round, do reach out to us. We'd love to connect and see if we should play together. Are you tired of always hearing about Silicon Valley VCs and not knowing what the greats of European VC are thinking? Well, no more. Head on over to EU.VC, the go-to place for everything European VC. You'll find podcasts, events, and expert-curated content from all over the EUVC scene. Well, what are you waiting for? Go to EU.VC.
So, Nathalie, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you with us. Could you briefly introduce yourself, your connection to urban areas, what was important on your way so far?
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here. So, I am Nathalie Isnards, the founder and CEO of madamePee, and I am married, 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys, and I live very close to Paris. Besides madamePee, we takes the majority of my time. I love sports, and specifically running races, trails, golf, sailing, and I also like to spend some time in Brittany on a specific island with plenty of good books.
So, do you have, Nathalie? Do you have a favorite city?
Paris, obviously, is one, and I love to spend some weekends in different capitals. So I would say that all the different cities in Europe, the different capitals, I love them. So no specific ones.
Maybe something that I want to dig a little bit deeper into, because you mentioned sports, right?
Yeah.
And when we were preparing for this podcast just a couple of minutes ago, you told me that you're going to participate at the Marathon des Les Sables in Morocco, right?
Yeah.
In a couple of weeks, which is not only a typical marathon, it's an ultramarathon, right? So can you tell us a little bit more about what motivates you to do? I think running a marathon, by the way, also you need to be a little bit of a crazy person, but running an
would agree.
But running an ultramarathon, the crazy level of craziness might be a little bit higher. So, Can you, in the best way, right? Don't get me wrong. So, can you tell us a little bit about that? What motivates you? Is it your first one? Like, how do you prepare for such a thing? I mean, the level of dedication to such an event must be huge, right? So, what motivates you? Why are you doing this thing to yourself?
Well, the adventure. I mean, it's very comparable to entrepreneurship, to my perspective, because, I mean, you know where you want to go, but you don't know how you will reach that goal. And more or less, it's the same with your business. I mean, you know where you want to go. You will prepare hundreds of business plans. If 1 or 2, I mean, I have at least 200 business plans since the beginning of madamePee. And so you prepare, and then you go, and then you learn while you walk or while you work when you speak about entrepreneurship. So for me, the parallel is really close. And the second one is that the investment in madamePee is so hard that I realized that I needed someone very hard on the other way, to balance. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, all my mind is focused on madamePee. Now, my mind is also balanced with another crazy stuff, which is this ultra trail. And then my mind is balanced. Then some friends or my family will told me, yes, but then you have too crazy stuff. I mean, it's out of your mind. Then, but the bizarre stuff is that this is my balance. Then it's my psi would tell other things, but
I mean, it totally makes sense for those who cannot imagine. The Marathon des Sables is a 250-kilometer race through the desert of Morocco, which you have to complete in 6 days, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is something really, I would say, on the really extreme side. So yeah, but KJ, you wanted to say something.
I really have to laugh because I went back to close the tab with the check-in question, and the next check-in question would have been, what helps you to regain your center when you're off balance? And it's kind of, you answered that question without knowing that would be your second question, but I love it. Now that we know that you are somehow also a crazy person, I would say, from my point of view, doing that, I would love to jump into the first topic. Mm-hmm. So as you might know, and all the others listening to us, Mark and I, we are not only podcast hosts. That is not our business, actually. We are a venture capital fund. We invest into urban tech. And we are looking at different challenges urban areas are facing and looking for solutions. One of those core challenges we want to focus on is livability. And that should include how we can make cities livable for everyone. And this is connected to why we are talking to you, because like the awareness on how to make cities more inclusive is so important. But if we look at numbers, in 2021, we had even more women than men in the EU, only 4.6%, but still. And compared to how cities are designed, one could say they are not designed for women's needs. Oftentimes, like originated from a male urban planning perspective. And you also touched upon madamePee. You have been building a product to tackle this challenge in your own way. And we would love to hear your point of view on how inclusive European cities are and where especially you do see more room for improvement.
Yeah, indeed. If I take some figures to illustrate the story, let's talk about toilets in Europe, and then I will come back to the cities and specifically the inclusive cities. The average number of toilets in Europe is 1 for 9,000 people. Okay, one toilet for 9,000 people, but with significant disparities. For instance, in France, we are 1 for 4,000 inhabitants. In Netherlands, we will be 1 for 13,000 inhabitants. In Nordics, we will be 1 for 3,000 inhabitants. Germany, 1 for 5,000, etc. So, and the common rule or the standard agreed is that we should have 1 toilet for 3,000 inhabitants to tackle the needs. This is the commonly accepted figure. Even though this figure is inevitably insufficient during the tourist seasons, when cities see their population double or triple with tourists. So now that is said, so we lack number of toilets. And when we talk about the people who are the most moving around the public space, who are there? The women, as you said. So and as a matter of example, 2/3 of public transport users are women. 2/3. So, and notably because they still bear the majority of the responsibility regarding shopping, regarding children, and regarding also the elderly. And so the historical dominance of male urban planners and architects, which is a fact, has led to cities that they are often designed with a male perspective. It's a matter of fact. And also coming to figures, 80% of public equipment expenditure in cities are allocated to the development of, for example, football fields, skate parks, and we can have other example. And who frequents this kind of infrastructure? Mainly boys. The result of these urban centers not yet hopefully designed for women means that they don't feel safe. And the European Agency for Fundamental Rights report that 83% of European women avoid certain public places for their own safety. So now imagine in a moment where they feel very vulnerable, when they need to pee, when they need to go to the toilet, when the women need to go to the toilet, the level of perceived insecurity is even higher. It's maximum.
Do you, Nathalie, have an opinion why? I mean, it sounds horrible, right? It sounds like it doesn't make sense at all. Yeah. So why are not women on the streets like claiming their right to have a public space that is more designed based on their needs?
Yeah, because we did accept that. I mean, we did accept for ages that we have lower salaries, lower wages. We did accept that we bear the majority of the responsibility we were talking about for children, for the elderly, for the daily stuff to do. And so we just resigned in some way, I think. And if you have the parallel with Me Too, why did we wait such a long time to have Me Too? Because we thought it was quite of normal. Okay, that's the way it is. That's the way it is to wait for 30 minutes because we are women to access some toilets. But imagine a parallel to you ask for a taxi, for instance, because you are a woman, you will wait 30 minutes for the taxi, Katharina, and Mark, 2 minutes afterward, the taxi comes. If you are at the restaurant, you make the same parallel. Katharina, you will wait for 30 minutes. Mark, 2 minutes afterwards, you have your French fries. Let's say. So when we take the same situation in other ones, it seems absurd. But for some reason, for social reason, we did accept, we did resign. And so now, and you tackle a very good point, it's we need also women to push the envelope. I mean, we need women to make the things change. We as madamePee or others are trying to push the statu quo. But we as business can push it thanks to the people who will use it and who will request it. But this takes time.
I agree. Maybe one question in addition. I mean, you mentioned women as an overlooked group in urban planning and design of urban areas, but they're not the only overlooked group, right? So we have a tendency in cities. I mean, for me, always the best example in cities is that cities are not planned for humans; they are planned predominantly for cars. But that's on a different note, right? But that affects everyone. But what are other, let's say, vulnerable is not a word that I like, but maybe overlooked target groups with specific needs from your point of view, besides women?
Besides women, I would say the elderly people, handicapped people. And very young ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because the level of security for very young ones can also be something to address. But I think that at the time you push the statu quo for some category which has been forgotten in the history, in the screen, then you push the paradigm and the criteria for everybody. Because you ask the planners, the urban planners, to think out of the box, not to think as a male and white and etc. Because this is another topic. It's also, and we could talk about intelligent artificial. I'm playing with ChatGPT 4 at the time, so it's the same also. The urban is the concrete areas where you see concretely that these spaces have been built for centuries by male, in Europe specifically by a white male.
And Nathalie, do you have experience in the discussions or touch points you had with cities in different countries, right? You're in France, Portugal, Spain, Belgium, that you saw change before the first discussion and afterwards?
Yes. Things are moving, but slowly. Things are moving on the political and would say more communication side. Now, from communication to concrete, it will take a bit of time. And we will need flagship. We'll need flagship cities, which will lead by example on things that should be done. So yes, things are moving, but very, very slowly, because it depends on when the next election is. So how far you want to communicate about the fact that you take care about this and that before, after your election. It's a lot about communication.
Yeah, I would agree. I think most of the things are, right? And it's always a question of short-term benefit or effects and long-term benefits and effects in accordance with short-term or long-term investments, right? But in your opinion, if you look at the main urban areas in Europe, and you said at the beginning you like to travel, right? I would assume you observed a lot. What would be the easiest way, like the most low-hanging fruit, to create more inclusive cities, like for every overlooked target group, in your opinion?
You cannot, I think, design what you are not using. You cannot design theoretical things. So the only way is to have urban planners, feminine, black, or older, or how you tackle with the needs of all the people who are moving through the cities. So I think until we have nearly 50-50 urban planners, men and women, we will not tackle properly the topic. And it's the same for the others. No, it's because you have kids that you will think differently. It's because you have an older mother or older father or older uncle, or that because otherwise it remains theoretical, I think. And you can have very bright ideas, but to have the will and the power and the energy to implement it, you need to feel it concretely.
So I understood that it's, from your point of view, a question of workforce and implementing structures to have first-hand views on and experiences on things.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is one thing to say, right? We need to have parity and have everyone being an actual urban planner, right? So have the actual knowledge on how to plan things. Another thing could be participation forums, right? Where you include an average of every group that is living in an urban area, which would, but on the other, I know in bigger projects, right? At least in Germany, this is common, to at least have people have a word in those processes. Decision is a different thing, but to at least hear the voices. But on the other hand, that puts a lot of pressure on the local governments, right? On the municipalities and all these kind of things. And if we look at the municipalities as a potential target group, this also, when offering solutions to build more inclusive cities, is something that we must not lose out of sight, right? I mean, in Germany, we have 10,000 municipalities. In France, I think it's even 3 times the amount, right? So that is a huge target group in terms of sheer numbers, but with very different structures, also in terms of professionalism, right? If you target a city like France or Berlin, you'll have a higher degree of professionality than if you're targeting a small municipality on the rural or on the countryside, right? So taking into account this very diverse group of potential target customers that more or less are facing the same challenges, you have a lot of experience in tackling those target customers with your product, right? So maybe could you give us or our listeners like a 2-sentence overview on what madamePee actually is and how you convince municipalities all over Europe, as far as I learned, to use your product, and what are your key learnings out of it?
So madamePee came to address this long-standing issue of inadequate public restroom. We design and we sell female urinals for events and for urban areas to reduce long lines and to offer to women a space where they feel comfort, insecurity, and with the level of hygiene that they deserve, so that we can offer to women a decent access to toilets in public spaces in general. This is our goal. And we design urinals and we focus on urinals because we are convinced, first, peeing is 80% of needs outside your home. So we tackle 80% of needs outside the home. Second, you can build this product in an ecological way without using water. And today we are using water and around 5 liters just to throw a little pee, which is absurd. I mean, we cannot go that. So this is the second target. Third, you can recycle the urine because it's pure, because you don't have water and only urine. So from the beginning to the end, the circle is ecological from the conception, because we also use specific materials, and to the end, to the recycle of urine. We partner with some companies for that. So this is from the social part, equality between men and women, and the ecological part. So madamePee now is distributed over Europe. So reducing waiting times thanks to urinals for women. It's hygienic, it's efficient, as it's touchless. You enter, you pee, and you go out without touching anything. And in fact, it's coming back to pushing the envelope in more inclusive cities. It's also to raise awareness, meaning that the introduction of the female urinals, what I saw for a few years, it helped to raise the awareness of about the importance of inclusivity in urban planning, because we will talk about toilets, but then they think about other things. So we are pushing, thanks to the toilets, we are pushing all the stuff. And I think that by drawing this the attention to the needs of women, I hope we can inspire other innovation and encourage the urban planners to consider a larger range of perspectives in order to design public spaces. And so it's a catalyst for change. I mean, why do I wake up every morning? Because I'm convinced that there is a before and an after madamePee. It's changing. I'm not to the objective that I have. It's 1-to-1. So 1 female urinal for 1 male urinal. And until we are not there, I will continue. So I think that we are pushing the global stuff with the with the toilets.
Keeping that in mind, right? So in pushing out your product, what has been the most remarkable, maybe in also surprising, positively or negative, the answer or reaction that you got from municipalities when presenting your product? Can you kind of loop us in? What feedback did you get, both on the positive but also on the negative side?
The majority of the people I met were men. That's the first thing.
That's not a surprise, is it?
Yeah, that's not a surprise, but it's, let's say, 80-20. We are in that ratio. So you are talking about women peeing to men. So the first thing is that at the beginning, people, they don't feel at ease with the topic. So because it's intimate, I mean, and so the first discussion, it's the same with the investors. Obviously, 80% of investors, at least, are men. So the first discussion is difficult. To enter into the topic is difficult. And the experience that I have is that if a woman is in the room, then she will start to open the discussion and say, yes, I have problem there. Okay, you never told me. Of course, I never told you. I mean, we don't discuss the way I pee. And then it breaks the ice, and we can enter into the discussion. Or the other is that the day after or the week after, if the person were quite blocked with the discussion, they come back and said, okay, I discussed with my wife, my mother, my daughters, and I realized that we do have a problem. Okay, and then we can discuss. And the other surprising thing is that at the time they discuss about the topic, I mean, I know everything about how the people pee. They start to open, but to open largely. I pee there, I pee, and so it's really black and white. At the beginning, it's quite close, and then after they decide to enter into the topic, because it's intimate, and once you open yourself to the discussion, then you open largely. So this is something that is quite surprising with this topic compared to other business, I think. So this is a disadvantage at the beginning. You have to break the ice, but once you broke the ice, you have a personal relationship with the person in front of you. So it's also a commercial advantages to then continue the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has to pee every day, a lot of times.
Exactly.
Or not everyone a lot of times, but yeah. There are differences. And would you share your secret then if there's no woman in the room and you feel like it's a hard challenge to start into the topic? How do you break the ice? Do you have a funny sentence, or what do you do then?
I said that I know it's a hard topic to talk about because we will talk about women peeing, and I know it can make you feel uncomfortable. So I try to put words on the feeling that the person in front of me seems to have.
Acknowledging that there is... that people could feel weird or uncomfortable.
Exactly. And it's okay. I mean, it's okay. And usually it works.
Before we start now telling people in our podcast about how and where we pee every day, I would love to end the episode with a quick fire round, Nathalie. It's all about speed and gut feeling here. Just 60 seconds for 10 questions. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
Perfect. So first question for you is Paris or the French countryside?
Paris.
Traveling by train or airplane?
Train.
Corporate life or startup life?
Startup life, definitely.
High-rise or low-rise building?
High-rise.
Do you prefer red or white wine?
Red.
Smartphone or pen and paper?
Pen and paper.
And would you choose the festival or the concert?
The festivals.
Notre Dame or Tour Eiffel?
Notre Dame.
I've never heard you pronouncing something in French. Work from home or from the office?
From the office.
Environmental or social impact?
I think we cannot choose. One is linked to the other.
Great answer. Nathalie, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
It was very interesting talking to you about inclusive cities. And we're looking forward to keep in touch with you and hope to speak soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Urban Tech VC, a podcast for urban leaders shaping the cities of tomorrow. If you love our show, do drop us a review, share it with your friends, and follow 2BX on LinkedIn or Instagram. And if you are about to raise a round, drop us a note at LinkedIn or via email at idea@2bx.vc. Let's have a talk and see where we can help. Are you tired of always hearing about Silicon Valley VCs and not knowing what the greats of European VC are thinking? Well, no more. Head on over to EU.vc, the go-to place for everything European VC. You'll find podcasts, events, and expert-curated content from all over the EUVC scene. Well, what are you waiting for? Go to EU.vc.